Have you ever noticed that some of the recent conspiracy theories somehow have now become today's headlines?
This is Truth to Ponder with Bob Bierman.
I was thinking just the other day how many stories we have shared in about a year and 3 months since we started this program, some of which people accuse me of sharing in conspiracy theories like the COVID-19 virus came out of a lab in China. We were told that was fake news. We were told a lot of things were fake news. And on this program, we have tried to expose and give you the truth on a number of major topics and news stories. Well, today, we've got Jim Calhoun filling in for me. As you know, we're doing a lot of travel, a lot of work during this time in Florida. And Jim has agreed to fill in from time to time. And today, Jim is going to be talking about some of those same very conspiracy theories. You know, the stories that ended up being true, the stories that CNN denied could possibly be true, MSNBC condemned as fake news. Amazingly, about every story that we shared that we were told was wrong ended up being right. Well, here today is Jim Calhoun with more.
Thanks, Bob. It's great to be back on Truth to Ponder. Today we're going to talk about conspiracy theories, and we'll hit some other topics as well. But I'm going to talk about things that may be labeled conspiracy theories by some, but I'm armed with this knowledge that after getting into the business of trying to report what's going on, I have learned that the difference between a conspiracy theory and a fact is right around 9 months to a year. Somebody comes out and says there's something going on, then that person is labeled a conspiracy theorist, and this person is banned from social media and ridiculed and just ostracized from society. Then lo and behold, several months later, you'll find out that this person was right. What they told us was happening really was happening. But where are the apologies? And do these people automatically get unbanned? Do they ultimately get their platforms back? No. Now, why is that? And why is it that every time that someone comes up with a conspiracy theory, that they're ridiculed and shunned and banned from everywhere, and their videos are blocked, and they get deplatformed from YouTube, and PayPal won't do business with them, and maybe they're banned from riding on Uber, all sorts of things, because they come out and expose something. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. You folks out there that believe that conspiracy theories are all phony and fake, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to really answer this honestly. If somebody come out with a statement that was totally false, why is all the energy and thought put into the process of banning this person and canceling them? And why is everyone working in unison to do so? If you put several people in a room and you start talking about any topic, you're going to have about as many different opinions as you do people. So people normally do not walk in lockstep. And so why are we seeing everything done in unison? If you're banned on YouTube, well, then you're going to be banned off of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and on and on. And then the big banks, big pharma, everybody piles on. And then the government might come out and make a statement or two about you. All in unison. This person is wrong. This is not happening. If they're wrong, in the real world, in the sane world, in the rational world, you just let a fool be a fool. And if someone is going out saying that something is happening that really isn't, let them say it, as long as it's not hurting anybody. They have free speech rights. Let them say it. Let them make a fool of themselves. And that in itself will take care of the problem. I remember several years back on a radio program called Coast to Coast with Art Bell, there was a lady that got on there that was talking about how she was channeling aliens through her. And when she would talk in her voice, and then she would change her voice and talk in an alien voice. And it was so phony. It was actually very funny. And after one or two episodes of that, so many people were disgusted by this obvious fake that the problem took care of itself. She was gone from the radio waves because it was just all pure nonsense. And that's what happens in the real world. When someone comes out and sells a bad product, let's say they sell a defective car. After word gets out that this car is defective, and if you don't take care of the problem, if you don't take care of the customer, and the word gets out that not only is your product bad, but your service is bad, what's going to happen is you're going to go out of business. Period. End of story. And so when someone has a conspiracy theory and they run with it, just let them run with it. If it's wrong, if it's fake, it'll die its own death, because that's the way the world is. Now, since when does social media people care about their content? We don't want anyone in here lying. If that was true, then they would have to bar and ban every government agency and every politician in the world. They'd have to ban almost everybody. But especially, they'd have to ban those that are telling us that vaccines are safe, telling us that everything is tested, telling us that there's no harm being done. There's lots of fake news, lots of disinformation. It's all coming from one side. And when the other side finds out the truth and tries to come out and point out the truth, well, then they're conspiracy theorists. And they're banned. Can't have that. We have fact checkers. And I would imagine the fact checkers are in their mom's basement in their underwear all day and playing video games. It just doesn't seem that the public is waking up to the fact that there are conspiracies happening. And you can label me a conspiracy theorist. Go ahead. But I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't run with anything that I haven't researched. And while I may not get things 100% right, I'm at least on the right trail. And these people that say that conspiracy theorists are bad and conspiracy theories are awful, the ones that point out and go out of their way to name names and name situations and try to really ridicule somebody, when you see that happening, then you have to know that the person stating the conspiracy theory is most likely dead on target. The more ridicule that's given to a theory or the person that has the theory, the more you can be assured that it may not be 100% right, but it's awful close. You don't have to work so hard to try to ban people and try to punish them for being wrong if they were wrong. But if you're hiding a lie and you're fighting a battle against the people of the world, and make no mistake, we are at war. And this battle is coming to us day by day through our television sets and our radio. So a little side note here, please turn off the mainstream propaganda media. They're paid to lie to you. Please turn them off. Shows like Truth to Ponder and other shows out there that have people with integrity and people that have common sense, people that have intelligence, and people that want to get to the bottom of the truth. Those are the people you need to be listening to. Not the puppets that walk in lockstep and are being paid by Pfizer to say what they say. Now you might say, well, that's a conspiracy theory that Pfizer is having them say everything. Well, go ahead and think it's a conspiracy theory. But watch the credits on any news program. Or they start the show, this show is brought to you by Pfizer. Is that a conspiracy theory too? I'm going to tell you folks, The ones that are asleep, wake up. Wake up. You're going to have to save yourself and save your family, save your community. Can't you see that our schools have been lost? Our schools have been taken over. Our schools are now not schools, they're indoctrination centers. Pull your children out of public school, please. And the mainstream media, they're just there to spread propaganda and to brainwash you. So turn them off. All these people out there that point at conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists, they themselves are likely guilty of what the said conspiracy theorist says they're doing. Like it's a conspiracy theory to say that the vaccines are harmful. And it's also a conspiracy theory to say they're not real vaccines. Well, they're not real vaccines. They had to change the definition of vaccine to fit this concoction that was made. And everything that's said against it is labeled a conspiracy theory. I challenge you to watch the videos that I've watched of people dying from the vaccine. Well, that's a conspiracy theory. You don't know they died of the vaccine. Well, no, I'm not a doctor, and I wasn't there. But I do have eyes, and I'm intelligent enough to know that when people are healthy and then they take the vaccine and within a week they're dead, and that seems to be a common occurrence, over 18,000 in the United States alone, then there has to be something there. The old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I've heard people say, well, 18,000 isn't bad out of the millions of people that have been vaccinated. And to that, I just have to shake my head. Do you realize that any other vaccine in any other time period, if they had lots of side effects and even 15 or 20 deaths, then that vaccine was pulled and they deemed it a failure and they pulled that out of production and they quit using it. Now we're sitting at over 18,000 dead in the United States, and almost 1 million have reported horrible side effects, some of them permanently injured. Some people are going to never walk again, never talk again. Some people are hooked onto life support, but that's just a conspiracy theory. Tell that to the people who are dead. Tell that to the people who are maimed for life. Tell that to the people who've had their life ruined and their careers ruined. And also, I've seen videos of funeral directors from all over the world saying that they have a massive uptick of infant deaths and young people dying in their prime. They've never seen it before. And we have this so-called mystery illness that seems to be happening in the countries where they're mostly vaccinated. Well, the mystery illness is that these so-called vaccines ruin your immune system. So if you've taken the COVID vaccine, the best thing you can do is to do everything in your power to boost your immune system. Because the reports that I'm seeing is that you're losing 5% of your ability to be immune per week. Now, is that true or is that a conspiracy theory? Well, I'm not a doctor. I can't verify that it's true. But I can tell you this. I've been watching lots of videos from lots of trained professionals and professors from all over the world. People that have no skin in the game, no dog in the hunt. They're just trying to get to the bottom of it. Are warning that in the next 3 months, we are going to see death on a scale we've never seen before. Now, if that's a conspiracy theory, I'm going to tell all you people out there that believe that conspiracy theories are all phony, we only have about 3 months to find out. So if we don't have massive amounts of people falling over dead in the next 3 months, well, then maybe you're right. Maybe that's just a conspiracy theory and it needs to be dismissed. But what I'm hearing from my sources is that that likely is the case. I just watched a humanitarian who happens to be a doctor who's trying to warn the world to brace for what's going to happen. because they're already seeing it in their clinics and in their hospitals. Now, is that just a conspiracy theory? Well, it might be. Everything might be a conspiracy theory. Now, do you think John F. Kennedy was killed by a lone gunman? Do you think there was one guy in the apartment that shot John F. Kennedy? Do you believe that? Or are you a conspiracy theorist and think there were more than one shooter? You know, I've watched so many documents on that I'm convinced that John F. Kennedy was killed from a shot from the front of the car, and they shot him through the sewer drain. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. That is until you watch the video that verifies that that was the angle that he was shot from. But anyway, I don't want to get on to Kennedy. I want to stay on point here. It seems like right now, Dr. Fauci, who is an absolute criminal, this man is a liar. He's a pathological liar. He's a criminal. I think he's the world's largest mass murderer. Now, that's my opinion. But I think that my conspiracy theory that he's a mass murderer is going to be held as truth someday soon. And the biggest contributor to mass murder in the history of the world is Bill Gates. Bill Gates and his foundations and all his money, all the things that he's doing for humanity. He's not doing it for humanity. He's doing it for his little group of quote-unquote elites. They want to depopulate the world. And in that sense, the lockdowns, the so-called vaccines, the draconian mandates they have, the supply shortages, all of that is causing death and destruction worldwide. We might go to the store and see we have a few empty shelves and we say, oh no, it's horrible here. Well, guess what's happening in the third world countries? And ask yourself, why are all these immigrants going to the United States and Europe and all over the world? There's this mass migration of people. Why? Have we ever seen that before? No, we haven't. These people are fleeing against tyrannical governments who are trying to inject them. These people are fleeing from poverty because this whole COVID thing has ruined their economies, and these people are actually starving, lots of them. And then there's a group that's paid to do what they're doing. Yes, they're being paid by the different governments and by different people like George Soros and Bill Gates and just the same usual suspects. But that's a conspiracy theory. Go down to the border. Go down to the border and watch the people selling people into slavery, basically sex slavery and all sorts of bad things at the border. Look at what the cartels are doing. And see how the Mexican drug cartels actually are controlling the border. But that's a conspiracy theory. Go down and look at it yourself. Look at what's happening down there. Joe Biden, the illegitimate so-called president, the evil man we have in the White House, stands in front of everyone and says, our withdrawal from Afghanistan was a complete success. Do you believe that? That was a conspiracy theory. Everything that man says is a lie. And the media backs him up because they're paid to back him up. Ronald Reagan asked back in 1980 if the people were better off than they were before Jimmy Carter was elected president. And I'm going to ask you right now, in which year would you rather live? 2019 or 2021? Which year were you better off? Has nothing to do with Trump. Nothing at all. Whether you love Trump or hate Trump. This is so much bigger than one man. This is a group of people that want to control the world. A group of people who have got together, big pharma, big business, big government, all the oligarchs all over the world, all the big corporations, are trying to run the whole world. And I see that Pfizer, for one, has demanded so many things from so many different countries, as far as small countries that couldn't afford to pay for the vaccines, that Pfizer actually has a say in their government. That was the trade-off. We have to understand that this world has changed. The only thing that hasn't changed is Almighty God. The only thing that hasn't changed. And we have to rely on God, because if we don't, if we rely on man, we are in big, big trouble. Now, those are pretty harsh words when I say we're at war. But folks, we are at war. We're in a spiritual war. We're in an economic war. We're in a shooting war in certain places. And as I watch what's happening at the Russian border and watch what Joe Biden did to Taiwan and basically threw him under the bus when asked if we were going to help protect him, and we see what's happening between Pakistan and India and China and what we're seeing in the Middle East, the whole world is a powder keg. It's like 1935, 36, and 37 all over again. But this time, there's a lot more evil going on. But I do believe it's the same evil coming from the same place, which is Satan. So we have to rely on God. We know that God is all-powerful, and we know that He's our protector, and we need to put ourselves in the armor of God, and we need to bolster our faith. We need to stand firm. And when it comes to someone that is telling you a conspiracy theory, know this: if there's a whole lot of people who are coming against that person on the news and on social media and elsewhere, then pay attention to what that person is saying, because they're likely right. Because you never hear about the ones that are really wrong. You never hear about the ones who aren't right. There are many people with conspiracy theories that don't make any sense, and they're left alone. You never hear about them. They're not banned. You can go on to Facebook and you can go on to YouTube and see conspiracy theories all day long on that are not banned. But they're so far out and they're not true at all. They're so obviously not true that they just leave them alone. It's only the ones that have a ring of truth or are total truth are the ones being banned and the ones being punished. I know that I'm being labeled a conspiracy theorist every day, but I guess I'm also a terrorist. And I'm also, since I'm white and I'm a male, I guess I'm a white supremacist. And I guess I'm all sorts of evil I guess I'm an angry white man. Evil, angry white man at that. Where if you knew me, you would know that yes, I have a temper, and yes, I can be passionate, but I love mankind. And I think there's only one race, and that's the human race. And God made mankind in His image. He didn't make the black man, the white man, the red man. He didn't choose just one type of person. He made man in His image. And that includes the black man, the white man, the red man, the yellow man, all the men. All the people on this planet, all of humanity were created in the image of God. And we are all God's children. But see, I'm a racist too. I forgot to tell you that. Why? Because I woke up this morning, I guess. Folks, we have to start getting real here. This world is in really a mess. Insanity seems to be the rarest commodity right now. You have schools suspending students for pointing out there's only two genders. But the gender is not what your mind says you are. It's what your chemical and physical makeup says you are. Oh, but I had an operation and I had to chop it off of me. Okay, so you had to chop it off of me. But what does your DNA say you are? If you say you're now a female and you were born a male, but now you say you're a female because you had to chop it off of me, you're still a male, because any blood test will say you're a male. Any sample tissue test will say you're a male. Even CAT scans of your brain will tell you that you're a male. Your bone structure will tell you that you're a male. Everything in this world will tell you that you're a male, all but you. So if you have a sickness that you don't know what gender you are, it's not up to me to recognize your sickness as being a truth or a fact. Now, I can pity you and I can help you and I can show you love and compassion, but I cannot go along with your delusion, because your delusion is your own personal delusion. And we have too many things in society right now that are being based on a delusion. We're writing special laws for people that say that they are a this or they are a that. And so since they're one of these groups, they have to have special rights. Why do they have special rights? For what reason? People are trampling on my rights by calling me a man when I'm really a woman because I had an operation and now I think I'm a woman, but I was really a man, that's just crazy. That's what I'm getting at. The world has gone insane. And so we people who consider ourselves sane and rational, and I'm going to use the word normal, we have to start putting our foot down and say, okay, folks, enough is enough. You've had your fun. You screwed up our whole society. Now it's time for us to try to take our society back. Now, I truly think Jesus is coming soon. I truly believe that. And I believe that we're heading into the time of tribulation. Now, the reason I say heading into instead of being in times of tribulation is the way the Bible describes the tribulation. When that happens, we'll know. There will be no mistake about it. But everything is being set up to put us into that tribulation. So I'd say we're on the verge of it. But while we still have a little time left, we have to do what we can do to try to save our society and try to bring back sanity.
And Jim, I want to thank you for filling in for me today here on Truth to Ponder. As many of you know, these weeks are being spent getting a lot of work done for this program, and a lot of work is being done to expand shortwave outreach, which means there's some time that I really don't have in doing the program. And so I want to thank Jim for stepping up to help me out during this very, very difficult time. A lot of work to be done, and having one of these programs done for me per week to save time has been just a huge blessing. So thank Jim for me for filling in at least one day a week during this time while we're in Florida, and I'm working on this transmitter and, an increase in our coverage for Shortwave Project. I'll be telling you more about it as it progresses over the next week or two. If you believe in our ministry, would you consider supporting us financially to pay the radio airtime bill? We're about to come into the new month of December. It's hard to believe it's like, a week away. And we're going to be in the month of December. This year has just flown by. If you can help us out, if you make a check payable to Ancient Word Radio, that's Ancient Word Radio, and mail it to Truth to Ponder, 5753. That's 5753 Highway 85 North, number 3248. That's number 3248. And the city is Crestview, Florida, 32536. Once again, Truth to Ponder, 5753 Highway 85 North, number 3248 in Crestview, Florida, 32536. By the way, you can find that address or even a way to pay online from our website, which is truth2ponder.com. That's truth2ponder.com.
This is Truth to Ponder with Bob Bierman.
The Israel Outside. Coming up, Shalom Aleichem. This is the nice Jewish boy, Jonathan Kahn, your Jewish connection, bringing you the riches of your Jewish roots in Jesus. Now get your pen out as fast as you can so you don't miss out on receiving a special free gift you're going to get. You're going to love it in a moment. Now, in Israel stands Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem is the memorial to the Holocaust. And you go inside, it's dark, and it's very moving, very touching, and very sorrowful. It's the Holocaust, a place never to forget. Very dark place. But when you leave, you walk outside, it's light, and the sun's shining, and there's birds and grass and towns and villages and mountains, little children, laughter, life. And for many, the point is that inside Israel, there's a Yad Vashem. But for me, the point was that outside Yad Vashem, there was an Israel. You see, the amazing thing about Jewish history is not the Holocaust or the fact that there's been persecution and horrors, but the fact is for 4,000 years, God has preserved them. They have come back to Israel. It's alive. The place is filled with children in the streets, like the prophet said. See, God never denies the existence of evil, but he overcomes it. Now, you might have a big problem in your life, and I don't deny that or diminish it. It may be a sorrow or darkness or a tragedy, but you might be spending all your time dwelling inside that problem, and you've forgotten something. The amazing thing isn't that you have a problem in your life or your walk with God. The amazing thing is that outside of your problem is your life with God, is a walk with God that surrounds your problem. The mercy of God surrounds your problem. Stop dwelling in your problem. Step outside and dwell in the love of God. That's the bigger picture, his kindness to you. Because no matter how big the problem, God's love and his goodness is far, far bigger than that problem. Because outside Yad Vashem, there's an Israel. And outside your problem, there's the love of God. Want more? Ask for a tour of the Promised Land. Now, feeling like your walk with God could use a real spiritual boost? We got the answer. Free subscription to Sapphire's warning. Use it as directed. It can revolutionize your walk for victory. And the incredible mystery of the temple doors. You'll love it, and it's free. How do you get it free? Easy. Just remember Jesus' real Hebrew name, Yeshua, and you dial it. That's it. So just dial 1-800-YESHUA-1. You will be blessed, but call now. That's 1-800-YESHUA-1. I invite you to minister with me in two of the most exciting ministries to broadcast the word of life around the earth on shortwave radio. It's incredible, to every tribe and tongue, and to Israel, the Jewish people who gave you the gospel. How? Just call 1-800-YESHUA-1 and you can have a real part in the end time harvest. YESHUA-1. Or write me direct at The Nice Jewish Boy, Box 1111, Lodi, Lodi, New Jersey, 07644. It's The Nice Jewish Boy, Box 1111, Lodi, Lodi, New Jersey, 07644. Till next time, this is Jonathan Kahn saying, listen, look to the good in God. He's with you. Peace be to you in Messiah. Havat Adonai, the love of God.
This is Truth to Ponder with Bob Bierman.
Welcome back to the second half of Truth to Ponder. And again, I want to thank Bob Bierman for having me host this show today. It seems like this world just stays in turmoil. And I'd love to sit here and talk about good things and fun things and happy things. But I really don't want to play the fiddle while Rome burns. And in my opinion, Rome is burning right now. I have had nice things happen to me. I just had a new baby calf. Makes a second baby calf in 2 weeks. This time it's a little bull calf. We call him Donnie. And so I'm thankful for God for that increase. And that's one thing we all need to do. And that's be thankful to God for what we have. I can sit here all day, every day, and think about what I don't have and what I really need that I can't afford. And I operate on a shoestring. Since COVID hit, I was deemed unessential in my career that I've had since the mid-1970s. And that career is now pretty much gone. I still do some work, but not like I need to make a living. So what was a career is now, I would have to say, a hobby. And you can't really make a living off a hobby. But I'm really thankful to God for Him watching over me. Because every day, something happens to let me know that God is in control and God is watching over me. And I have a feeling He's watching over you as well. No matter what I or Bob talks about on Truth to Ponder, we have to realize that all of that is temporary. The only thing that's not temporary is God and God's love. Everything that I talk about here is going to pass, no matter what we do. Whether we believe a lie, or we reject a lie, or believe truth or reject truth, or we go up or go down or left or right, really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Because no matter what happens, no matter what anyone does to us, or no matter what we do, all of that will pass. Now we have to get through this mess, and it's kind of hard to do. Because you have to realize, we as Christians, and society in general, we're having war waged against us at every level. We have war waged against our faith, war waged against our families, against our children, against our businesses, against our way of life, against our social structure, against everything that we know to be right, we're being told is now wrong. We have a group of people who are quote-unquote in charge, who I feel are clinically insane. And we have people who are extremely evil. That mix of evil and insanity is very toxic. And no matter where you look, whether it be a newspaper, or if you turn on a radio or watch TV, you're going to see things that are so absurd that if 20 years ago someone would have told you that in the year 2021 you were going to read a story about that, you would have said, "That's a conspiracy theory." I'm sure you would have. If someone would have told you that they were going to lock down businesses for 14 days that turned out to be months and months and months until they broke all these small businesses, where they deemed liquor stores as essential, but mom and pop's little meat market had to close, when you could go to Walmart and cram as many people as you can in Walmart, and then you have a one-chair barbershop that's told to close because that barbershop was going to kill people with COVID. But come on down to Walmart, everybody. All 10 million of you, get in Walmart all at once. Or if you could go to a Black Lives Matter rally and go shoulder to shoulder and have 30,000 people burning and looting and shooting people, no, that's okay. But if you put more than 10 people in a church, oh, you're causing COVID, you're awful. If you would have told somebody 10 years ago that that was going to happen, you would have been called a conspiracy theorist. You would have been called a liar and a kook. So it doesn't matter where we look. We're seeing all sorts of insanity. But I think one thing that's being overlooked, and I've been doing lots of research on this, and I'm going to ask all the Truth to Ponder listeners to really consider what I'm about to say. Now, do I know this to be truth? Personally, yes, I do. I know lots of people have opinions on this, but most of the opinions are uninformed. So I'm going to ask you to please get informed. Because this war that's being waged against us isn't just spiritual. It isn't just political. It's now chemical. If you don't think these vaccines are not a bioweapon, if you still think they're vaccines and they're good for the planet or good for the people, then I really think that you're asleep. Scientist after scientist that are independent, that are not owned by Pfizer or owned by the government, have stated that these are not vaccines, they are bioweapons. And I've heard that from dozens of qualified research scientists. There's things going on behind the scenes that we'll never know. There's lots of things happening they're doing to us as a people that we'll never know. In years past, the government has done all sorts of experimentations on the people. There were all sorts of experiments conducted by the U.S. military against the population for years. They were spreading chemicals and viruses and bacteria to see what would happen. They were putting chemicals in some of the town's water systems. And I know this is hearsay, but I had a long conversation with one of the soldiers that was on a mission to go to a small Appalachian town that was kind of forgotten by the major highways and had a population of under 200. And it was just a small little town. And they put a whole bunch of LSD in the water supply to see what would happen. And he was there to monitor the actions of the people to see what would happen if you put an entire village on this kind of a drug. I've had World War II vets that told me they were sworn to secrecy, but they told me things that they did and what they were ordered to do that are totally against anything we heard in the history books. So don't tell me that everything is spotless and squeaky clean. And remember back about several years ago, Bill Gates was one of the most hated men in the world. But then all of a sudden he decided to reinvent himself as a humanitarian. But he's no humanitarian. He's a eugenicist. And all of these quote-unquote good works he's trying to do have one goal in mind, and that is to thin the herd, to depopulate the world. He's stated that himself several times. Matter of fact, he came out and said that his vaccines were going to help reduce the population of the earth. And I said this in the last show, and I think it bears repeating. If I did what Bill Gates is doing, and that's impersonating a doctor, I'd be thrown in jail for practicing medicine without a license. But yet, anytime vaccines are brought up, who is the expert that they put in front of the camera? Bill Gates. Bill Gates is not a research scientist any more than I am. And he's no more of a doctor than I am. Bill Gates is a fraud. And he's committing the biggest crime against humanity that you can even imagine. Matter of fact, that's why he's getting away with it so far. His crimes are so large and so big and so over the top that you can't see them. It's like not being able to see the forest because of the trees. There's a website I've been visiting, and I'm going to highly recommend that you visit this website because it's directly involved with what Bill Gates is doing. Now, the last time I was on Truth to Ponder, I said if I was going to try to take over the world or have total control, there was no limit to what I would do. And I would stoop to whatever level had to be stooped to if I really wanted to accomplish my goal. And so I would use every weapon at my disposal. I wouldn't just use one or two things. I'd use everything and the kitchen sink. I would use everything possible. And since we know that things have changed an awful lot over the last 15 or 20 years, I want you to remember back to the clear blue skies, the beautiful clouds, and the definition of clouds. But now there's new definitions of new clouds. And so what we learned in school back years ago, there are now 5 or 6 additional types of clouds that were never there when we were kids because they would have been classified if they were there. And they're all caused by the aerial spraying that's happening, funded by the Gates Foundation. Now, the governor of Nebraska, Governor Ricketts, who is my governor, came out against Joe Biden and against his mandates and against his IRS snooping into people's bank accounts. And ever since Governor Ricketts got tough and held that press conference, Nebraska's skies have been inundated with hundreds, and I am not exaggerating, hundreds of jets spraying their chemtrails. Every day that's clear and clean with no clouds, beautiful blue sky, you start seeing them fly in. And Nebraska's flyover country, but there's not that many planes that fly over this state. The ones that fly over this state are flying either to Kansas City or Denver. I know several of these jets are cargo haulers and some of them are passenger airliners. But hundreds and hundreds spraying chemtrails. And this morning, woke up to a beautiful blue sky, but I saw to the south of us, all the lines in the sky starting to show up. And I saw them crisscross until the south sky became white. And then they started moving north in their grid pattern. They went overhead. I watched them spray. They were like a half a mile apart, the chemtrails were. They spread this checkerboard over the top of my house and then went north. And what was a beautiful sunshiny day is now hazy, and the sky is white and murky. And that's because Governor Ricketts stood up to the globalists. And so I truly feel that Nebraska is being punished right now. They're blotting the sun out of our sky. That's a conspiracy theory. Well, look up. See for yourself. And all the autism that we never used to have that we have now, and all the increased rates of cancer, all of the lung issues that people are having, the allergies, the gluten intolerance, all this stuff that people never used to have that's now considered normal. A lot of that can be traced back to when they started spraying our skies. Now, if you think chemtrails are all a myth, have you heard of Agent Orange that they sprayed in Vietnam? Look at some of the pictures of the planes spraying that chemical on the jungles. Those are chemtrails. They look exactly the same as what they're spraying right now. But what they're spraying right now are aluminum and barium and other heavy metals. And they're trying to, quote-unquote, save the earth, is what they say. And I've got quotes from James Comey, the former CIA director, talking about this program and also talking about what it cost to spray everything, saying it was inexpensive. It was only several $1 billion to keep our atmosphere sprayed. So the videos are out there, the evidence is out there, but still people have been told, that's a conspiracy theory. And so people can look up and see the line across the sky and say, oh, that's a contrail. That's normal. No, it's not. Contrails are contrails, and they act like contrails. And chemtrails act totally different. Chemtrails don't go away. They spread out. And we have to understand that we're under attack. We are at war. And our environment is under attack. I'm not an environmentalist. I'm a conservationist. But where are the environmentalists with all of this spraying, which is changing our weather, which is adding gases up into the atmosphere? What all the environmentalists say they want to stop, they say that you're doing it with your lawnmower and you're doing it with your car because it's all your fault, won't look up in the sky and acknowledge that Bill Gates and his foundation, with the help of lots of governments and lots of other people, but it's funded by Bill Gates, they are spraying us from up above, just like you'd spray Raid over a group of flies. We're being sprayed. There's a website I've been visiting, and it's globalskywatch.com. I would ask all of the listeners to Truth to Ponder to visit globalskywatch.com. Read some articles, watch some videos, and really get informed. Now, this site is run by a man named Russ Tanner, and Russ suffers greatly from the effects of this chemtrails. He's hypersensitive to what the chemtrails do to him. And he was looking for answers, and he's devoted years of his life to research. And so I would say that Russ Tanner is probably the world's foremost expert on chemtrails. And if you want to get really informed and want to help stop this injustice that's happening to our environment, not to mention our health, then please visit globalskywatch.com. It'll take you a long time to get through all the material that's at this website. But I've talked through email to Russ Tanner, and he's for real. He's a real guy, and he seems like he's a straight-up honest guy. And I know that I've learned massive amounts from going to globalskywatch.com. Now, you might wonder, why am I talking about someone else's website and talking about this conspiracy theory on Truth to Ponder? Well, I've been convinced through my own health experiences and through my eyes and my intelligence that there's something going on overhead. And as all of this is happening, political and social and economical, political, all this stuff that's happening is actually the small thing that's happening. The big thing that's happening is over our head every day. And we're being sprayed, and we're breathing in what they're spraying. And a lot of this stuff is metal compounds. And this metal stays in our body. And these compounds can breach the blood-brain barrier. So what I'm doing now is researching ways to chelate these heavy metals out of my body so I can detox. I know that several days ago they sprayed so heavy that my health went way down. And the ringing in my ears and my head was just pounding. And my eyes were blurry. I had trouble breathing. And I put two and two together that it was the chemtrails. But it wasn't until I went to globalskywatch.com and really researched how I was feeling to know that all of my symptoms were common when they sprayed barium and aluminum. And Russ Tanner has all of these different chemtrails pretty well identified as to what's in them and what they look like and what to watch for. Now, I'm not trying to scare people here. I'm trying to inform you that we have something evil that's happening in the spiritual world. You already know that. We have something evil happening in the political realm. You know that too. There's things evil happening in the economic world and in the medical world. And I know that you're well aware of that too. So I just want you to be aware that another evil is out there, and it's right in front of our eyes, right over our heads. Now, as a people, we're going to have to rise up and put a stop to this, because ultimately, these particles they're spraying are contaminating our water and contaminating our soil. And I've noticed that it's killing trees and plants. And I notice, as I said several shows back, that almost all the little animals are gone. We've seen a massive reduction in the population of everything from field mice to hawks to sparrows to bunny rabbits, everything. A lot less than there ever used to be. We're seeing that predators like coyotes and owls and things, they're starting to diminish because they have nothing to eat. And all this has to be happening for a purpose. You can't say, well, it's a cycle. Oh, it's all cyclical. You'll have overpopulations of a species, and then that'll right itself out because that species will have a disease, will have a die-off, and it'll right itself because nature kind of balances itself out, which I do agree with. God designed nature to balance itself out. But see, that's the problem. We have a horrible, massive imbalance right now. And it's happening through the contamination of our air, which is in turn, that's coming down to earth, contaminating our water and our soils. And if we're not privy to that, and if we don't start speaking out against this, and we just blindly look up and say, oh, look at that jet spraying this stuff out of the back of it. You say, well, that's just a contrail. No, it's not. If it disappears within like 3 minutes, yes, it's a contrail. But if it doesn't go away and starts to spread out, then it's a chemtrail. Two totally different animals. So I would ask all the listeners to Truth to Ponder to please ponder what I just told you. Ponder that information. Because our very existence, not only as mankind, but as the entirety of God's creation, rests on the fact that we identify that we have criminals in this world like Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci and all their minions. They're actually committing crimes against humanity and crimes against nature and ultimately crimes against Almighty God. I know this sounds harsh, but we live in harsh times right now. We have to wake up to the fact that we're not in Kansas anymore, folks. We're in an entirely different realm. So we have to be very careful of who we listen to, very careful of who we believe. We have to start believing ourselves and trusting our gut hunches. And we need to start doing our own personal research. Don't wait for someone else to tell you what's happening or what's going on. Engage your brain, because God gave you a brain for a reason. So I would hope that everyone would visit www.skywatch.com to get informed. And only when we're informed with the truth can we come up with a solution to this problem? And talking about solutions, I truly believe that Truth to Ponder is part of the solution. I know that Bob Bierman does massive research on everything that he brings to you in this show. I do the same. We don't talk about the same issues in the same way, I realize that. But we both care deeply for our brothers and sisters. We both care deeply for our society and our country. We both care deeply about Almighty God and serving in a way that's helpful and serving in a way that is honorable. So I would ask you to keep Truth to Ponder in your prayers, and I would ask you to support Truth to Ponder in every way you can, even if it's just word of mouth, tell a friend to tune in. That would be great. And if you can become a partner with Truth to Ponder financially, that would absolutely be great, because it does cost money to keep this show on the air. And Bob Bierman has some great things coming up. He's working on several projects, and his ministry, he's growing. He's got things that God has put on his heart to do. So that's why I come to this microphone. I try to give him some more time to do what God is asking Bob to do. And I'm very excited for Bob and what's happening. And I know he's supposed to be retired. He's probably one of the most active retired men that I know. But he's been called, and he's answering the call. So please support Truth to Ponder and Bob Bierman. I would appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to say thank you, Bob, for having me host today. I appreciate it. So until next time, everyone be safe, replace fear with faith, and walk in truth.
And once again, this is Bob Bierman. I want to thank Jim Calhoun for helping me out this week. As you probably have noticed, for the last several weeks, Jim has been, doing a lot of work for free to help me out to keep this program going during this time. We've got so many things happening. We are in Florida for quite a while, I would expect. But these months of the end of the year, maybe even into January at the latest, we're spending a lot of time working at WRMI. I'm working on a project with them, a joint venture, which should be able to increase our reach on shortwave. While I'm a believer in using any means possible, including the internet, podcasting, online radio, all of it, I also believe in the power of shortwave radio. It's overlooked by many, but a number of you that listen to this program hear it only on shortwave, and I recognize that. And I recognize that virtually everybody that has found this program has found it initially on shortwave radio, even if they do happen to listen online. So I'm a great believer in making use of shortwave radio, but it's not free, and that we have to pay for. If you'll let me know what station you're listening to, and I'm thinking about trying to make this program more available to even domestic AM or FM here in the United States and elsewhere. I'm looking into those possibilities, so keep that in prayer. If you can help us financially to pay the airtime bill, if you'll make a check payable to Ancient Word Radio and send it to Truth to Ponder, 5753 Highway 85 North, number 3248. That's 5753, then Highway, you can abbreviate that HWY, Highway 85 North. And then our secure box is number 3248, that's 3248. The city is Crestview, Florida, 32536. One more time, 5753, Highway 85 North, number 3248, in Crestview, Florida, 32536. We will be back tomorrow. I've got some news headlines that I want to share with you and look at some of the news over the last, let's say, around 10 days. See where things have gone and see what you think may be coming our way next. That'll be on tomorrow's program.
This has been Truth to Ponder with Bob Bierman. To find out more, visit our website, truth2 and the word ponder.com. That's truth2 ponder.com. Truth to Ponder, shining the light of truth in a darkening world.